If I had a quarter for every time I have been labeled a supporter of quote unquote genocide in the last couple of days, I would at least have like $7, right? I wouldn't be a millionaire. I got to be fair. I got to be honest. But I have been labeled that enough times to where it matters. And, I believed, maybe naively, that after the ceasefire, the ceasing of the lies would come along with the ceasing of the actual war. Right there is my naivety, or maybe my toxic trait of delulu. Being delusional enough to believe that these same people who have been lying about a genocide for the last 2 years would stop the lie, but instead, maybe, just maybe, they would actually double and triple down on it. So that being said, today I want to take a moment to dispel the lie, the propaganda, the tool that has been used in order to, execute one of the most successful psychological warfare operations we've seen in a long time. It's worked. But there are those of us out there who desire to have real discourse and to bring up the facts. And so today I'm going to unpack the genocide that never was. Now, I want to start off by defining the word genocide. I think it might matter to actually know what a genocide is if you're going to create any sort of accusations of a genocide, or you're going to dispel a genocide. So let's go ahead and get into the official Oxford Dictionary. And yes, I am currently subscribed to pay for this app because words do matter, and how they're defined essentially shapes reality. So let's go ahead and get into this. Genocide as a noun: the deliberate and systemic killing or persecution of a large number of people from a particular national or ethnic group, get this, with the aim of destroying that nation or group. Now, does this not sound familiar? The deliberate, systemic or persecution of a large group of people from a particular nation or ethnic group with the aim of destroying that nation group. Now, if we're to point to any genocide that has taken place in Gaza, or at least in greater Israel, I don't mean that in the context of, how they use it, the greater Israel. I just mean Israel as a whole, getting into the West Bank, etc. The only genocide that was attempted was at the hands of the so-called Palestinian militia known as Hamas. We need to stop differentiating Hamas from a majority of Palestinians who support, endorse, and stand behind their actions. Right? It's like saying the IDF. The IDF is the militia for Israel. And so you can connect the two. And you can say that most Israelis are behind the IDF. Therefore, a majority of Palestinians are behind Hamas. Now, again, genocide. It is a deliberate and intentional, systemic persecution as well as slaughtering of a group of people, ethnic group or nation group. Israel, nation, Jewish, ethnic. Interesting. Folks, these are the tactics of not just gaslighters, your everyday narc. This is a full-blown sociopathic schematic that has been formed by the likes of, and it's not, it's ancient as time itself, starts in the garden, if you want to get back to true deception. But as far back as Karl Marx, right? One of the most famous quotes from him was, accuse your enemy of doing the thing that you're doing in order to create confusion. So that being said, let's go ahead and get into this next little piece of information here. Now, here we have directly from the beast's mouth, which is the propaganda machine, or the leftist propaganda machine, that is PBS News. And even they're stating the following. Palestinian death toll in Gaza passes 64,000, officials say, after ceasefire talks break down. Now, this was obviously about a month ago, so if they could see a little bit into the future, things would be a little different. But nevertheless, this is a month ago, so these numbers are relatively steady. And these are the numbers according to them. So take it with a grain. More than 64,000 Palestinians have been killed in nearly 2 years in the nearly 2-year war in the Gaza Strip, local health officials say Thursday, as Hamas and Israel reiterated their incompatible demands for ending the fighting sparked by the militant group's 2023 act. Militant group, is that what we're calling Hamas now? Not a terror group. We're just going to call them a militant group, and their, what is that? Their 2023, oh, you mean attempted genocide? Let us continue. Israel strikes take the lives of 28 people, mostly women and children, overnight and into Thursday, according to hospitals, as Israel presses ahead with its offensive in famine-stricken Gaza City. I wonder why there is a famine. Wouldn't happen to do with Hamas intercepting 90% of aid. Now, would it? Interesting. Says Israeli forces control 40% of the city and that the operation would expand in the coming days. So essentially what was happening here is Israel was provoked to war and they won. The quote unquote Palestinians signed up for something that they could not necessarily follow through on. That's the facts. But nevertheless, I want you to hold on to the 64,000 number as we get deeper into the conversation of quote unquote genocide. So before we actually go there, let me bring this up. So let's talk about populations, because I believe that in the conversation of genocide, population matters. Why? Because when a people are successfully genocide or ethnically cleansed, and it's, I guess, an oxymoron in successful. It's not actually successful. It's tragic, devastating, and demonic. But when there is an attempted genocide, there's likely a massive loss of human life, obviously. And if you're to look at examples like the Tutsis in Rwanda, which we'll get into in a little bit, if you're to look at, I don't know, the Jews in World War II, you would see a massive decline in population. So let's go ahead and look at some of the numbers as far as Palestinian population goes. This is directly from Google. Again, the beast's mouth. So here we have, let me see. We want to go to 2024. This is the most recent update. As of 2024, there has been a 2.4% annum change in the overall population. Now, again, there's comparison of 3 nations here, but the ones we want to focus on are Israel, right here. Would you look at that? You would have thunk that there was a genocide taking place in Israel at the hands of their enemies. If you were to look at that right there, a massive drop off in population. Whereas in Palestine, there is a steady momentum, but a little bit of an increase as we're going into 2024. Now, to affirm that, here we have an article bragging. This is Palestine.unfpa. Let's go ahead and get into that. Look at this. The projected number of Palestinians living in the state of Palestine by the end of 2015 is 4.57 million, around 2.9 million residents in the West Bank and 1.85 million in Gaza. Palestine refugees make up to 42% of Palestinian population in Palestine. And every time Palestine pops up, I add so-called, because what is Palestine as a nation actually? I suggest y'all look into it, but we'll get into that because I got time today. Palestine is facing a rapid population growth and large youthful population with 69% below the age of 29. The population growth rate stands high at 2.8. So that's going to be important right there. 2.8 is high, because we see some of these numbers. Oh, dismiss. We see some of these numbers and we might think 2.4. Wow. That's tragic, devastating. No, 2.8 is a massive spike when you have that birth rate as opposed to death rate. That is incredible, especially compared to the Western world right now, where we're essentially at negatives, basically, I think, across the map. Somebody out there can maybe bring up a country that in the West that is not at a negative birth rate. So again, here they're posturing this massive growth that is taking place. Estimated population growth. This is 2018. I mean, literally here we can just see it in real time. 2.5. It's relatively steady, right? As opposed to, let's say, in Israel, which we have in green there, from 4.5. Hold up. No, sorry about that. From 3.3, 3.7, what's our highest high here? What's our highest high? 6%. It was booming in the night. Folks, y'all got to get back to that. We got to get back to making babies. 6% to all but 1.3%. Now, again, if we just wanted to create a narrative, we could simply say, well, there's been a genocide of the Israeli people. And truth be told, there have been many attempts at doing so. And even one, which there was this is going to be news to some of the youngins right now who are being propagandized about the Holocaust and what actually happened. But roughly 6 million people of a group that was no larger than 15 million, 20 million absolute tops. That means every Jew collectively on the entire planet was likely not spanning up to 20 million. So if it was generously, and I'm doing this is not accurate numbers, it's way less. Let's say there were 20 million Jews in the world at that point in time. And let's say 5 million of them were massacred. Let's do the math. That is 1/4 of the entire population gone, genocided, ethnically cleansed. But since they don't want to talk about the Holocaust, we can go ahead and talk about another actual genocide. Let's go ahead and get into it. So the genocide of Rwanda is actually one that I heard about all throughout my life, especially being African born. I was born in Zimbabwe, hence the name Tinashe. Grew up in South Africa for about 5 or so years. So Zimbabwe 5 years, South Africa 5 years. And then we migrated to the United States, blessed enough to have that opportunity, becoming a United States citizen the right way. But all throughout my life, I heard about the Rwandan genocide. I watched Hotel Rwanda. You know, this was just a part of the overall lore of being an African. That was like the never forget. So the Rwandan genocide, let's go ahead and read into it. Again, another one of the mouth of the beasts here in Wikipedia, who oftentimes is very left leaning. So there's not going to be that bias of, well, you're just, pro-Israel, etc. No, there's none of that going on Wikipedia. Matter of fact, a lot of lies about the Jews on Wikipedia. Let us get into it. The Rwandan genocide, also known as the genocide against the Tutsi or the Tutsi genocide, occurred from, now watch this. Let me see. I'm new to this iPad game. I just recently got this. Shout out to everybody out there who has been so generous donating. Shout out to YouTube for, AdSense. So we're able to continue to build out the studio, make this a better viewing experience, yes, but also so I can deliver better quality content. Because at the end of the day, I could buy so many shirts. I could buy so many, what else do I buy? Bought this $50 watch. But besides that, I would rather invest it into here. So I digress. All right, here we have from the 7th of April to the 19th of July, 1994. April, May, June, July. Barely 4 months that there was the execution of nearly 1 million people. We're getting to the numbers. And the reason I want to get into the dates is because Israel was attacked on October 7th, 2025. So they claim that there is this genocide of the Palestinian people. There are roughly 14 million quote unquote Palestinians across the planet, roughly 1.9 million Palestinians living in Israel. Oh, y'all didn't know that? Yeah, let me go ahead here. How many Palestinians live in Israel? Let me see. Because y'all don't want to be believing stuff unless you got the receipts, which is valid. There are 1.9 million, look at that, Palestinians with Israeli citizenship. Imagine that. Imagine how many Jews were given citizenship in Germany between 1936 and 1947. I'll wait. So yeah, 1.9 million Palestinians. So if there was a genuine ethnic cleansing, every single one of them would have been wiped out. Or at the very least, in comparison, there would have been 1/4 of them, going back to my little makeshift comparison, even though there were far more Jews who were genocide or ethnically cleansed and far less in population. But let's say, yeah, roughly 1.9 million who are citizens of Israel. Oh, told you I'm new to this game. I'm new to it and I'm true to it, you know. Wouldn't they have wiped out that entire section? And mind you, 2023, end of 2023. So you have the whole year of 2024 where the population grew 2.3% growth in the Palestinian population, folks. Can we make that one make sense? 2.3% population growth during a genocide? Not a massive decline? Okay. Let's continue. No, I'm on sassy time today. I'm on petty time. Okay. Petty time. Let's see. Okay. Over a span of 100 days. And mind y'all, if this is too small on the screen for some of y'all who are reading along, I apologize ahead of time. Again, I am working this whole situation out. New to the iPad game, but I'm true to the iPad game. Members of the Tutsi ethnic group, as well as some moderate Hutu and Twa, were systemically executed by Hutu militia, while the Rwandan constitution states over 1 million. So they say the actual official document says 1 million, and that is affirmed right here. And do we have it in the first? Let's see. Yeah. The genocide, 1994 genocide of the Tutsis in Rwanda between April 7th and July 4th, 1994, within about 100 days, when more than 1 million okay. This is the official record right here, right? These folks, they are an organization who essentially their entire mission is to bring awareness to these real genocides. So let's do this for a second. Okay, 100 days. In the first 100 days, 1 million of them were executed. And mind you, these people were macheted, etc. How long was the quote-unquote Gaza war? Okay, so 2 years, 1 week, and 1 day. How many days is that, folks? I'm going to do real life math. This is going to be my second attempt at doing so. Last time was not very much of a success. My math was definitely not mathing, but I'm going to make sure to correct that today. Okay, so we have 2 years, which is 365 times 2. And then we have 1 week. So that's plus 7 days plus 1 day equals 738 days. Okay, let's say roughly 738 days. So this, dare I say, primitive peoples of the Hutu clan or the Hutu tribe, with machetes in hand, not even the best equipment, were able to take 1 million lives. I told y'all we're going deep today. They were able to take 1 million lives in 100 days because there was an intentional deliberateness about taking these people's lives. Correct? Okay. "735 days would have been plenty of time to at least reach the same numbers." Can we say that's fair? Especially with the sort of artillery that Israel has at its hands right now. Could they have not technically nuked the place? Could they have not taken 1.9 million who are citizens of their own country and just, they could have literally rounded them up and got rid of them in a single afternoon. So, turns out that when you have an actual genocide, the numbers reflect it. When you have a pretend genocide, the numbers do not. Let us continue. So, boom. What do we have here? Most scholars suggest 500 to 662,000 Tutsis died, mostly men. The genocide was marked by extreme violence, with victims often unalived by neighbors, and widespread violence with between 250,000 and 500,000 women whatted. And mind you, we cannot report a single incident of that taking place. And that almost always takes place where the women or even the men are whatted. The kids are whatted, R-worded. Put it that way. Turns out that it was happening the other way around, that there were Israelis who that happened to in the midst of these 2 years. But for some reason, never happened the other way around. Interesting tidbit right there. Let's see. The genocide was rooted in long-standing ethnic tensions, mostly recent from the Rwandan Hutu Revolution from 1959 to 1962, which resulted in Rwandan Tutsi fleeing to Uganda due to an ethnic violence that had occurred. Hostiles were, then exacerbated? That is exacerbated. Further due to the Rwandan civil war. I can just pick this thing up. I don't know why I'm looking so far away. A predominantly Tutsi rebel group invaded Rwanda from Uganda. The war reached a tentative peace with the... Oh, that is terrifying. So here we have pretend peace, of course, as I'm suspecting will likely happen in this case, of Arusha Accords in 1993. However, the assassination of the president on the 6th of April, 1994, ignited the genocide as Hutu extremists used the power vacuum to target Tutsis and moderate Hutu leaders. That there, folks, sounds like a genocide to me. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and get into, where is this? Again, 64,000 people dying is tragic. All of war is ugly. I don't like it. I'm not a fan of it. I believe it breaks God's heart when his creation are at odds, let alone wanting to destroy each other in such a way. But we have to bring the facts into this situation. This is a group of people. Let me move myself out this way. This is a group of people who were invaded, who were massacred, who were kidnapped, who were R-worded, who were butchered for no other reason than their ethnicity, which, going back to the definition here, ethnic group with the aims of destroying that nation or group. That is jihad. That is the modus operandi of the quote unquote Palestinian people. Facts. Okay. More than 64 million Palestinians. I'm in the millions game right now. 64,000 in 2 years, 1 week, and 1 day. 64,000 in comparison to 1 million. Now, maybe I'm a little off, and I'm doing this in real time right now. Okay, so what else do we have here? Let's go to, let's say, Cambodia. I do not want to, I might have to block some of these pictures out. I apologize. It's just, the nature of this platform. Okay, so in Cambodia, as a result of the Khmer Rouge regime's brutal actions, the country mentioned above, which is Cambodia, came to be known as the massacring fields, where at least 1.7 million people were ethnically cleansed. 1.7 million, almost double that of what happened in Rwanda. Let's see. The regime headed by Pol Pot, good old Pol Pot, who ruled Cambodia between 1975 and 1979, had resorted to various, let me make this bigger for y'all. I know that's tiny. Has resorted to various methods such as mass execution, deportation, forced marriage, and reproduction, prohibitions of religious rights and traditions, and forced labor to eliminate or suppress any elements that they thought would prevent them from achieving their goal. As a result of this regime brutal actions, the country mentioned above came to be known as the unaliving fields, where 1.7 million people were massacred. 1979, the same regime collapsed. The administrative staff of the regime dismantled. Pol Pot died under house arrest in 1998, etc., etc. So again, we have in the millions. Now, I am surprised that the genociding of the Armenians is not here, but let me go ahead and bring that up. Armenia. All right. So the Armenian genocide. The Armenian genocide was a systemic destruction of the Armenian people and identity in the Ottoman Empire during World War I, spearheaded by the ruling Committee of the Union and Progress. It was implemented primarily through the mass execution of around 1 million Armenians during death marches to the Syrian desert and the forced Islamification, primarily women and children. That is interesting to say the least. 1 million, for some reason, the number of around 1 million. So here we have estimated 600,000 to 1.5 million executed. Now, there is a key factor in all of this. And just as I open my phone, I kid you not, there is an article reading, data shows Israel has unalived more than one Palestinian child every hour since October 8th. The very first thing that pops up. I'm telling y'all, the propaganda machine will forever propagandize. That's what they do, and they are experts at it. So we need to be equipped for otherwise. I'm gonna go ahead and send myself this image here. Let's see how this works out for us. Does this work? Okay. Oh, look at that. Look at that. It pops right. Wow. I can say what I want about technology and, the rise of this machinery, but when it comes to doing what we do here, thank you, God. So here we have Vietnam versus Gaza. Vietnam had 50 times more the deaths, 50x, 60 times more the injuries, 100 times more bombings that took. If there was 5 people who died, do the math on that one. 250 people. 50x? Am I tripping on my math again? Am I tripping? 5 times 50 equals 250. So for every 5 people, 250 in the Vietnam War. That is wild. Again, 60 times the injuries, 100 times the bombings. Both wars leveled multiple cities. And again, we live in a day and age where we're exposed to the internets. We get to see this stuff. We get to see, Gaza turned into a quote unquote parking lot, as they say. And one of my greatest arguments overall has been, what would America have done if placed in the very same situation? What would we have done? I believe we would have done it in a far greater extent, if you know what I mean, to a far greater extent, and we would have done it in a much shorter period of time. We would have not given it 735 days to get our sons back home. Would have not been that. 300, no, it would probably been like 35 out of the 735. I would say 35. It would have not been a 2-year experiment of how do we maneuver tactically and put ourselves in the best position with these people who use their own children as shields. Probably would not have been that. And I'm not just saying at the hands of Trump. I'm saying even if Obama was dropping bombs just because, that brother right there was ready to drop them. You understand? Don't ever forget that. I'm not a fan of Obama, but that's the man who said the okay on Osama. And they were willing to do things that were compromised. We'll just put it that way in order to finish off that mission. So, yeah. The genocide that never was. We have to be equipped in the age that we're in. There has to be a godly discernment at the base or the core of everything that we do. And atop of that, we have to be equipped with the little T truths so that we are not bamboozled. Many will be fooled. Many are going to believe lies. If they're going to believe lies about who God truly is, what will they believe about the rest of this political, social, economic propaganda? And so again, we have to be ready. We have to be there. We have to be informed. As myself, I continue to inform myself. First, here. This is my number one source of information. First and foremost, this is the bedrock. This is my foundation, the word of God. Atop of that, we have these old things, right? Old archaic works. Shout out to Washington. It's a real one. Don't worry. We won't let you keep getting slandered by them crazy whacked out lefties. We won't let that happen to you, sir. We will continue to leave your statues alone. But atop of faith, we equip ourselves with this information. And honestly, the two always have to be tied together. You know, we have this fear of mixing church and state, forgetting that when our state was fixed in the church, rooted in the word of God, we prospered. You know, the Islamists have no gripe about that. They don't mince words when it comes to mixing politics and social and economics with their religion. As a matter of fact, they're tied all in one. For us, yes, we believe in religious freedoms, etc., but there has to be a galvanizing foundation that we all stand upon. And so for us to get to that place, we have to raise up young men and women and hopefully grown folks who are equipping these kids to be prepared to be leaders tomorrow, who are godly leaders, do the right thing, and are informed on the facts as opposed to the lies. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Now, if you'd like to stay around, make sure to click that little subscribe button down there, or you can show some love by going to the description below and clicking on the button titled Buy Me a Coffee. Leave a little something there, or click on the Cash App. Leave a little something here. Till the next time, peace.
I've been up for hours, I've been up for days, you. Staring at the ceiling, I've been counting strays, you. I've been in my feelings, I've been out of mind. I've been getting visions of the other kind. I've been up for weeks. I'm in the counting blessings over counting sheep. I can never be the type to limit when it comes to me. I used to be the pleaser for the people. I ain't